Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press basketball luncheon with JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady. As the Dukes are 7-4, and tonight they have a home game against the Spartans of Norfolk State. Since the last time that we were here, the Dukes have played a couple of ball games, going back to a Wednesday night, a 72-52 win at Ball State, and then on Saturday, a loss of 80-71 at home, only their second home loss of the season, and it was to the Panthers of High Point University. Coach Brady, a couple of contrasting games last week. Wednesday's game you might consider to be the most complete game the Dukes have played this year, and then Saturday, not necessarily a step backward, but not the step forward that you would hope after that.
Yeah, I think two different kinds of teams in Ball State and High Point. And I thought our defense was really strong against Ball State. I thought we followed the game plan exceptionally well. And, I think even in the game versus High Point, we kind of followed the game plan. But in the loss versus High Point, I thought two very telling deals here. One, in the first half, we turned the ball over in very odd ways that led to run-out baskets, 1-on-0 fast breaks. So live ball turnovers in the first half probably allowed them 8 more points than they should have had. I think they had 37 for the first half. Probably should have held them to the mid-20s. And I think in the second half, I don't really think the story of the game was John Brown getting 7 baskets, although we knew he could do that. I thought our guard play defensively was very poor guarding the dribble. I thought dribble penetration killed us. 2 guards between them, get 17 free throws, a couple of different baskets, and a number of opportunities to create baskets for other guys. I just didn't think we guarded the ball very well. I think the other part of the game was our inefficient offense, especially versus their zone defense, a zone defense that we practice against every day because we run the exact same defense.
In the game against Ball State, was that, as you envision this team coming into this season, was that as close to what we might see or what you might anticipate?
Yeah, I think one of the things we thought we had is depth, and we used everybody that got in that game played pretty soundly, and I thought that a number of guys played well. We shared the ball. There's really good shot distribution, and our defense was really high level. We guarded the ball on the perimeter really, really hard. And in the Norfolk State game, I think that our defense let us down, especially in the second half. And so, that's one of the things that you're looking for consistency from your group and from your team. And in a week's time, we went from playing a very complete game to being, I think, very, very unsound defensively.
Paulius Shotkus in the game against Ball State gave you really a stat-stuffing game all the way across the board, one of his most complete games as well. You go back against Sacred Heart, he had 21 points there. Is his consistency, or I guess their lack of from game to game, is it a matchup situation with some personnel, or is it just a matter of still learning to play the game day in and day out?
No, I think it's a fair question. I think when he's overmatched physically, he doesn't feel confident. And so I think part of it's being young and inexperienced. And I felt like at Ball State he didn't feel that way. And I think against High Point, I think he just made some errors. And, he didn't look comfortable or confident, so, he played less minutes in the second half. But that is kind of what I've been beating this drum for a long time. Our front court has got to be consistent in order for our team to be consistent. And they haven't been. And that's going to be something we're going to continue to fight all through the season. You'd like them to be consistent, upper-class kind of players. But they haven't been consistent. I don't think Yohani played very well the other night either. But again, we're relying on our upper-class guards to be consistent, at least defensively with energy. And in that respect, I thought that our upper-class guards didn't play well defensively either. So, you can pick and choose different things in the High Point loss. I look at, turnovers in the first half, not containing the dribble in the second half is really the reasons why we lost. We scored enough points to win at home. We just didn't defend very well in the second half.
Containing the dribble, what's the key to doing that? You talk about defensive awareness. Is that part of it, just getting in front?
Yeah, I think it's a huge part of it, and I think having the right mindset. And I think, Andre sometimes can rely on his physical gifts, and his mindset wasn't good in that game. I think he just thought he was going to let this guy dribble around and then block his shot. And when he does that, Andre gets in trouble a lot. And he needs to be able to practice the same way every day. And that wasn't different than what we've seen in practice. I mean, he can get in trouble if he's not mentally strong. and his practice habits don't carry over into the games.
I didn't see any signs of that toe injury on Saturday. How is his health right now?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think it's gotten better every day. He was better in practice yesterday than he was even in the game. So, we're really hopeful that, that he doesn't do anything to damage it in tonight's game. And then he's got a few days off, and hopefully we'll come back a very healthy team.
10 for 30 on three-pointers, but was that kind of, magnified because once John Brown hit that tremendous slam, that was a tremendous athletic play right there, that you felt maybe a little desperation that a lot of those threes were launched in that situation?
Well, I'll tell you what we felt, and I felt this way all the second half. We could not create separation, and I think our guys were expecting a 5, 7, 8-point run, and it never came. In fact, I told our team before the High Point game, I really like the way that High Point plays defensively because they help and they expect kick-out passes and they guard the kick-out pass. And they've been good, very solid defensively all year. In fact, I think we've been fairly solid all year. But I think our guys went into that game off the heels of the Ball State game thinking that we're going to do it again. And when that run didn't come and we didn't put them away, I thought that we became very tentative. And especially when they went 3-2, we didn't get any baskets. And then we became very stagnant. And I thought we became more tentative. And, with a young team, you got to stay aggressive. And, the disappointing thing was it happened at home. That's one of those things. If it happens on the road, you feel like, okay, well, that can happen from time to time. But at home, we just didn't have what we needed to have offensively, when they went zone.
Coach Cherry also mentioned he gave a lot of credit to the experience that he has as a team and the experience that they took to the NIT last year. So from that perspective, did you sense that?
Yeah, no, and I've said to my team, they've been in a lot of close games. They played at Clemson and lost by 3 in a 1-minute game. High Point did. So they've been in a lot of close games. That's basically the same rotation of guys that played all those games last year. They're used to playing in close games. And we're still learning. A lot of guys are in their first college games of the year. And, a lot of our sophomores weren't counted on at crunch time. And now they are. It's a learning process, and you'd like to not stub your toe, kind of, so to speak, in those kind of games. But it's the first home game that I think we've lost where the game was in the balance. I thought we lost one at East Carolina where in the last 7 minutes where we didn't play well. Now we've lost a home game where we didn't play well. What we have to make certain of is that doesn't obviously become a pattern.
How much of an impact was it that Ron Curry did go 0 for 11 from the field? Now, he did also have 8 assists in the game, so he certainly had an impact on your offense. And you did score 71 points, as you just mentioned, enough to win at home. What was the impact with him going 0 for 11?
Well, I think there's a number of things you can look at and say if we had done A, B, or C well. Any one of those variables when we win the game. Certainly if your junior guards play better, we'll win the game. If only, I think if our perimeter defense had been much more stout off, facing drill penetration, I felt like we would have won the game. And I think that John Brown had an exceptional second half. Or had we not turned the ball over in the first half 8 times instead 4 times and we're up 7 or 8, maybe you win the game. Or if we make a few more shots, you can always say that. Shooting 10 for 30, that's not a good enough performance. It's certainly too many threes. There's a number of reasons why I thought we shot way too many. But if we make 13 out of 30, then you probably win the game. So you can look at it a lot of different ways. As a coach, we want to rely on our defense to be able to win games like that. We just weren't good enough defensively. And turnovers, for me as a coach, is something that we can control that has been it's been a weakness of ours to date.
Norfolk State comes in tonight. The Spartans are 8-5. They're 1-4 on the road. But like the Dukes, they do present a challenge in the sense that they're very balanced with scoring, and their scoring averages are significant double-digit averages for all 4, actually.
And not just averages, not points per game, but shooting percentages. Jeff Short, their leading scorer is getting 18 a game, but his numbers are tremendous. He's shooting nearly 50% from the field, or he's shooting 50% from the field, 43% from 3, and 85% from the foul line. Those are tremendous numbers for a college basketball player at this level. And then, the kid Taylor's numbers are equally as impressive. And Gaston's a big kid who's shooting 60% from the field. And he's a real handful because he can really offensive rebound. So they have 4 double-digit scores, and they obviously need those guys to play well. But that's a very confident team. And in every road game they played, they've been there in these games. And so, you know, we're not expecting anything different than the game we played against High Point. We need a different result.
All right, we're at O'Neill's Grill with our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady. We'll open it up to other questions of members of the media here with us this afternoon.
Coach, a bit of an off-the-court topic for you. Last week you got the special opportunity to see your team volunteer at Second Home. When you're looking for a place for this team to volunteer at, how did you find Second Home, and how did it become a perfect fit for you guys?
So yeah, Kevin Warner, our former SID, now working full time in that regard. He and I talked a number of times during the summer. We told him we were looking for something like that we can do on a somewhat regular basis. I think that was our 6th, attendance at Second Home, and our kids really like it. And it's kind of human nature. Sometimes you look at those kind of things and say, what a pain it is. But every guy, once we get there, really enjoys their time, and we end up spending a lot more time there sometimes than we even plan on doing. And I've had that conversation with a number of our guys that, Coach, I would really rather, do something else. And then we get there, and it's really very fulfilling. And kind of keeping in the spirit of the season, you do very often get more out of things like that when you give your time. And our guys really like it. It's something that we look forward to. And what a unique bunch of kids that we have a chance to intermingle with.
And how much do you get a kick out of, seeing tall basketball players try to defend against not as tall kids? Yeah,
it's an interesting thing, but it's really a lot of neat kids there, and not just the kids, but the people who spend all their time there and volunteer their time and do so on a regular basis. I know that there's students, JMU students have spent a semester there as part of their work study deal here at JMU, and then they've gone back, on their own time and spend a lot of time there. So, we're grateful for the opportunity to be, our basketball players are grateful to have the opportunity to be celebrities, and people are looking forward to seeing them.
And one on-the-court question. When you're trying to look for consistency, and after dropping a game at home, and you have a couple more games coming up at the Convo, how do you try to use that as an opportunity to develop that consistency in your own confines?
Well, what's interesting, we spend a lot of time talking about the fundamentals that we've got to get better at. We watch tape. We'll watch tape as soon as we come back. On the 26th, we'll gather again. We'll practice twice on the 27th, and we'll continue to stress fundamentals, passing and catching, taking great shots, blocking out, which I didn't think we do a good job of, free throw shooting, which we've been pretty good at for the most part. We were poor at the other night, and some of it's just being locked in. And I think this team enjoys playing together. I think there's good chemistry, but we're a work in progress because of all the rotations that we have and the different combinations we can have on the court. So I think that's still going to be an ongoing thing. And the last part of that is we're still not going up the court as much as we want to go up the court and start pressing a little bit. I don't know if we'll get to it as much tonight, but we do want to use our depth now that we finally do have everybody back. So, we'll start doing some things, hopefully up the court and creating some pressure situations.
I got some off-topic stuff for you, too. I know you're a guy who watches a ton of basketball in his free time. I'm curious, have you been keeping tabs on the rest of the CAA, and what's your impressions been of the league so far?
Well, I thought our league was doing great until this last week, and I thought we all dropped the game that we could have won. And, I think we were 10 games over 500 as a league, probably a 20-game swing from a year ago. That would be significant. I think it's kind of like the stock market. We just gave some of the gains back. We had a good run, and we got whacked. And, I felt we did that, and I felt like Hofstra, I know that they felt like that was a game they could have won at Columbia. I think Elon won a game, but for the most part, we all lost a game that we felt like we could have won. Not should have won, but could have won. And, when 7 or 8 teams do that, you lose a lot of games.
From what you've seen in the summer, you told me you picked Northeastern as the league favorite. Is that still the team to beat in your mind?
Well, I'm not very different, and I haven't watched any of those teams play, but I follow them statistically. I do look at everybody's box scores, and not just our league. I look at a lot of box scores late at night. I still think that Northeastern's got the best starting 5. I think Hofstra's got the most scoring ability, so they can knock anybody out at any point. And they're shooting the ball tremendously, much better than I think even they felt like they were going to shoot the ball. And I think that William & Mary has a very connected team with a style that's there's tremendous continuity in their style. It doesn't really change, and they've got the best player in the league.
Mm-hmm. looking at last season, you had said when it comes to transfers, it's kind of hard to peg what guy is going to surprise everybody. That was Davon Usher last season. Would you say Amin Tanksley's kind of emerged as that guy so far?
Yeah, no doubt that Amin Tanksley from now at Hofstra, formerly of Niagara, is a guy. And actually, Joe Mahalik and I we were talking yesterday, and he's surprised by the jump that he's made. He's really, in the year off, he turned into a perimeter scoring small forward. He was a power forward at his previous school, and now he's shooting the ball remarkably well, and it's not something he did at his 2 previous years at Niagara. So when that happens, it changes the complexion of your team, and we're hopeful that guys on our own team can make a jump, between now and the end of our conference season. They can kind of change the complexion of our team.
Sure, and you said you had picked your team anywhere to finish 4th through 7th. If you had to, put a vote in, they don't make you vote for your own team. Obviously, you have a better feel for it now?
Not really, only because, Nick, I haven't really watched the other teams play. I think that some teams have gotten some quality wins. I thought that Wilmington was picked near the bottom. If not, you'd have to tell me, were they picked at the bottom or not, but I don't think they are. Mm-hmm. And I think Elon has had a really good start so far for where they were picked. And everybody else is kind of where we are. In fact, I would say to you, it's kind of college basketball. It's kind of where everybody is. You can have a really good team, lose a guy or two, think you're going to be really good because you think things aren't going to change, and then Michigan State loses to Texas Southern, who just got beat by Gonzaga by 40. It's really kind of inexplicable. And I would say to you, I think it's like this every year in college basketball, and it's going to be more and more like this. It's just going to be this way. I don't think this is unusual. I think this time next year we'll be talking about different high major teams losing some games they didn't expect to lose.
And then another topic I thought could make for an interesting story. Andre Nation, I had heard, does some AAU coaching in the summertime. Did you have any involvement in getting him connected with that, or did you know he's been doing that?
No, I didn't know. I don't think he's ready to coach just yet. I think he's just needs to pay attention is what he needs to do. So I had nothing to do with his foray into that world.
Okay, just looking at his basketball IQ, do you think one day, temperament aside, that he has the kind of basketball knowledge to be a coach someday?
Andre?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I would say he would have. He's got the mentality for the game. He actually has the temperament in the game. As long as he leaves those kind of things behind. But I think he's got a lot of work in front of him here to become a good basketball player.
Sure, that's all I got for you.
Coach, would you talk about Hari Hall's play? I think he's recognized this week as the freshman of the week, and just talk about what he's meant to this team this year thus far.
Well, Hari has had the trajectory of a freshman that you hope all freshmen have. He was very uncertain, even though he had a very good offensive game against Virginia, and then he went through a little bit of turbulence, and then I think he's gotten a little bit better every week. His mindset has been very good. He's been very locked in on trying to get better and what you need to do in college. The most interesting thing about Hari Hall is this is his 3rd year of organized basketball. And if you put that in context, I don't know that anybody in the CAA, you'd have to go back and look at this, Nick, and anybody in the history of the CAA has won the Rookie of the Week, having only played 3 years of organized basketball. And that's really a testament to his own physical ability and what he's done so far in terms of locking in and paying attention to how to get better. He has been a very coachable kid, although he's been somewhat emotional on the court. He's learning not to be emotional, and I think he's been really improved in a lot of ways. And I still think there's so many things he can get better at. He's a really talented kid, and we're, I think it's great that he was recognized, and if he can stay on this track, I don't think it'll be the last time he could be recognized.
What was the mindset of the team in practice coming off the loss from Saturday? How did they respond yesterday in practice?
Yeah, I think the kids were a little down, and but I think once you get back on the court and you do what you like to do, which is play and compete, then I think you're anxious. I learned that a long time ago when I was a college player that even coming out of Christmas break, especially coming out of Christmas break if you're coming off a loss, it's critical to get back on the court and practice. And there are times we think about we're scheduled for a day off coming off a loss. Shouldn't we just practice and get that mentality and that mindset, kind of get it erased and get it behind you. But I think it's really important to have a significant, have a good day of practice when you're coming off a loss. And the truth of the matter is I'm actually grateful that we have this opportunity. Now, I am, truth be told, I'm extraordinarily, concerned about this game tonight because I don't want to go a week without another game, and I'll be miserable for the next, 5 days until we practice again if this result isn't what we need it to be.
What's your message to your team as they have some time off? Do you tell them to watch basketball, stay away from it, to work out? What's your focus for
our
them?
Players?
Yes.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to tell them tonight immediately after the game is take tomorrow off, but try and do something the day before Christmas. If you get on, just run for 30 minutes. I think, athletes at this age, especially even at this age, lose their cardio very rapidly. And being off for 4 days can be something. And that first day back, the day after Christmas, is generally the worst practice in the history of basketball everywhere in the country. It's really terrible. But I think it's a little bit better if everybody works on their cardio a little bit. So I'll encourage them. I'm not going to hold them to it, but I know that when I was a college kid, I always tried to and get in the gym, because I loved playing, and I think we have some guys like that.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Tonight's game is presented by WSVA, the flagship station of the JMU and Telos Wireless Broadcast Network. You can hear the game on News Radio 550 beginning at 6:30 this evening with Mike Schickman and Carl Magenhofer. Tonight's game also the United Way game, as JMU is proud to partner with United Way to support our community. Also, it's the last chance for fans to bring in a toy for the Toys for Tots drive by the Marine Corps. And if you do bring in an unwrapped and unopened gift, then you can receive a free general admission ticket to tonight's ball game. Again, tip-off is 7 o'clock tonight. The Dukes at 7-4 against the 8-5 Spartans of Norfolk State.